Hey folks, after a stretch of mostly quiet weather, things are about to take a major turn. We've got a massive storm system developing right now, and it's going to affect millions, actually tens of millions of people across the United States. This storm is going to kick off a really active and potentially dangerous pattern as we head into March. There's so much going on with this system, not just the immediate impacts, but also the longer term setup for more storms to follow. So we're going to break it all down. We'll talk about what's coming, the broader impacts, and what the rest of March might look like. But first, let's start with the very latest updates from the Storm Prediction Center, because there's already a lot to keep an eye on. Before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, one of the most dangerous parts of this upcoming storm is definitely going to be the severe weather threat. And when I say severe, I mean severe. We're already seeing something pretty rare, a day 5, 30% risk for severe weather across the Deep South and into the mid-Mississippi River Valley. That includes cities like Memphis, Little Rock, and parts of northern Louisiana. If you follow these outlooks, you know that seeing a 30% risk this far out is not something that happens often. In fact, yesterday, this was a day 6, 30% risk area. And for it to maintain that level of concern as we get closer is a strong signal that this is going to be a high-end event, and that risk isn't going anywhere. It looks like this will continue to be a very serious situation as we approach the day 1 outlook early next week. But that's not all. As we look ahead to Wednesday, March 5th, the severe weather risk expands even more. We're talking about nearly 30 million people under a 15% probability of seeing severe storms stretching from the Florida Panhandle all the way up into southern New Jersey. That's a huge area. When you see this level of concern this far out, it's a pretty big deal. It tells us that the models are picking up on a consistent and dangerous signal for widespread severe weather. So naturally, the question is, what's going on here? Why is this storm shaping up to be so dangerous? One of the biggest reasons is the wind profile. Every time we get new model data, the situation just looks more concerning. The numbers keep trending upward, and the setup is getting more and more ominous. We've been talking a lot about wind shear in the low-level jet stream, and the latest data shows winds around 70 to 80 knots, just a few thousand feet above the ground. That's intense. These winds are going to stretch from Louisiana up through the Mississippi River Valley and into the Bootheel of Missouri. When you combine winds like that with a surge of Gulf moisture, you've got a recipe for some really dangerous storms. And it's not just the amount of moisture that's concerning. It's the incredible contrast between the moist air and the very dry air coming in behind the cold front. We're going to see relatively high dew points in the 60s and even some 70s down south, while the northern part of the severe weather zone may only see upper 50s. But it's not just about how deep the moisture is, it's about how sharply it contrasts with the dry air pushing in from Texas and New Mexico. That clash is what fuels severe weather, and in this case, it's setting the stage for some really powerful storms. We're talking about supercells capable of producing strong, long-track tornadoes. And as the system pushes east, the threat is going to continue into states like Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. It could even reach parts of Maryland, Delaware, and southern New Jersey by Wednesday. As we move into Wednesday, I think the main threats will shift toward damaging winds and large hail, but that tornado risk is still going to be there. While it's too early to get into specifics just yet, the fact that we're seeing this much confidence in a forecast this far out is rare. Usually I tell people not to get too caught up in forecasts beyond 4 days because things can change a lot. But this is different. The models are showing such a consistent and strong signal that some kind of major severe weather outbreak is almost inevitable. We'll fine-tune the details as we get closer and start getting more high-resolution data. But right now, it's clear this storm is going to be a big one, is going. Even if you're not in the severe weather zone, this storm is still going to have a huge impact. In fact, it's already getting started. Today, we've got a clipper system moving through southern Ontario into southwestern Quebec. and it's going to drop a hefty amount of snow, especially north of the Great Lakes. It's moving fast, and we could see some intermittent blizzard conditions due to strong winds and cold air being pulled into the northeast. This is going to bring temperatures back down to near or below average in the Ohio Valley and the Northeast as we head into the weekend. However, unlike some of the brutal Arctic blasts we've seen this winter, this one won't be quite as intense, just a return to more seasonable cold. Meanwhile, out west, things are warming up, and that's where the storm system really starts to build its strength. As it moves toward the west coast, it's going to bring rain, snow, and gusty winds. Arizona and Utah could see strong wind gusts and snow at higher elevations, but the real trouble starts once the system crosses the Rockies and hits the Great Plains. That's when the severe weather threat really ramps up. On the backside of the storm, we're looking at incredibly strong winds, gusts of 40, 50, even 60 miles per hour, and that's not even within thunderstorms. And let's not forget about the snow. Colorado, Nebraska, and South Dakota are likely to see heavy snowfall, which will then spread into Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and northern Michigan as the system moves east. At the same time, rain will be a big story too. The upper Midwest and Ohio Valley are set to get soaked with heavy rain and gusty winds. Indiana and Illinois will likely see mostly rain, but it could come down hard at times. Flooding is a real concern, especially along the Mississippi and Ohio rivers, where the ground is already saturated. With more rain on the way, we'll need to keep a close watch on rising water levels. As the storm keeps pushing east, the heavy rain will move into Pennsylvania, New York, and New England, while the snow shifts into Wisconsin, upper Michigan, and southern Canada. And let's not forget, the strength of this storm is unusual. A 985 millibar low pressure system like this is something we typically see in the dead of winter, not early March. That's a big part of why this storm is packing such a punch. Even if you somehow miss out on the rain and snow, you're definitely going to feel the wind. Parts of New Mexico could see 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts on Monday, and those dry winds will elevate the wildfire risk. Even today with the Clipper system, we're already seeing elevated fire weather conditions due to gusty winds across the Midwest. Now, let's fast forward to next week, because that's when things really get serious. The Storm Prediction Center is already confident in a major severe weather outbreak across the Mississippi Valley on Tuesday, March 4th. They've issued a 30% risk area, which is a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for cities like Memphis, Little Rock, Shreveport, and Jackson, Mississippi. The 15% risk area stretches even farther, covering parts of southern Illinois, central Missouri, and Kentucky. This is a huge area we'll need to keep a very close eye on. And it doesn't stop there. On Wednesday, March 5th, the severe weather threat shifts east. Areas from the Delmarva Peninsula down into the Carolinas, Georgia, and northern Florida are in play. We're talking about the potential for tornadoes, some of which could be strong, along with damaging winds and large hail. So what's causing all this? It's all about the clash of air masses. A deep trough is diving into the west, bringing cooler air into California, Nevada, and Arizona. Out ahead of it, we've got a ridge of warm air. Where those two collide, things get dangerous. As this trough moves east and becomes negatively tilted, which is a key signal for big storms, it's going to set the stage for very significant weather. By Monday, March 3rd, we'll start to see the first signs of this system. Snow will fall in the Rockies and Sierras, while heavy rain moves into parts of California. By Tuesday morning, 2 low-pressure systems will develop, one near Wisconsin and a stronger low over western Kansas. This setup brings heavy rain, severe thunderstorms, and even blizzard conditions on the backside across the Midwest. For severe weather on Tuesday, dew points will surge into the 50s and 60s as far north as southern Iowa, a big signal for storm fuel. Even though it's early in the season, we won't need a ton of instability to get severe storms going. Combine that with an extremely strong low-level jet with wind speeds over 85 knots, and we've got everything in place for fast-moving, dangerous storms. The more people stay informed, the safer we'll all be. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next update.